And so he and I met a few weeks back, and Brian has worked with Marques for some time now. And it's just been this energy, basically, of sharing some ideas and our community that we're in. So Marques offered to spend some time with us today. We're very appreciative of some leadership pointers, basically.
Yes, so thank you very much, Bruce. My name is Marques Ogden from Washington, D.C., as Bruce just said. I executive coach Brian. Brian and I actually met at an event in, what's that, Orlando? Washington, D.C., that he was at for real estate investment, and we kind of dialogued, and Brian has the desire to work with people, consult, has a great business, so I said let's work together. He's gone by leaps and bounds and has really grown as a person, and really it starts with a lot of the things I'm going to talk about today. Brian has embodied through principles of leadership. I don't care who you are, what you do. In this world today, if you're going to be successful in any business, you have to have great leaders. I heard you talk about it earlier. The ability to connect with people, the ability to stop yourself before you make a mistake and say something that you're going to regret. Because like you said earlier, I didn't want to take that job, I was afraid of failing. So many people in today's society are afraid of failing, which means you're afraid of success. Because if you don't want to take that step, you have to understand that fear is part of life, but you don't have to let fear hold you back. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about some things to help you in your business. I'm also going to tell you my personal story to help you get where you're trying to go with your business. Effective communication is the foundation of any successful company. I don't care, again, like I said, what business you run, who you are, everything is built on communication. I had the privilege of being at the FBI building last Friday for a personal tour as part of the NFL player engagement. Our special agent officer, Desiree Smith, and by the way, if you all watch CSI, they talk exactly the same. It's amazing. And she talked about her first job was to fingerprint and interview the DC snipers. That was her first job. And they told her the reason they wanted to do that because they felt she had strong communication skills and could get Muhammad and or Malvo to say some things to further incriminate themselves. So she was selected. She was only in the bureau for 3 months. That's it. That's her first assignment. So she talked about communication is one of the big things the FBI is built off of, and it's the same thing in any type of big business, sports, it doesn't matter. Now this guy right here has done an amazing job of creating a foundation built on leadership and excellence. Jeff Bezos. 1999, picture of him in his office, everybody thought he had lost his mind. What are you doing? Why do you want to take away the joy of going to shop? He said, because people were looking for a way to get something faster. You are a technology company. You all work in engineering. The world is fast-paced changing. I had the pleasure of listening to Robbie Bach speak, who is one of the former vice presidents of Microsoft. He said, if you have innovation, you have a good product. If you have disruption, you have chaos. If you have disruption followed by innovation, you have a life-changing product. Amazon, Uber, Lyft, they all disrupted their industry. And right behind it came with an innovative product to help make that market faster and more efficient. This is why Amazon is a multi-billion-dollar business, and he was broke in the late 90s. To go now, he has about $170 billion is what he has as his personal remedy.
Half that.
Oh, that's right, he's getting divorced, I forgot. Well, you don't want to go have an affair with the news lady, but I'm not going to go there. Anyway, so he's now down to about $80 billion. She'll get back the other half at some point. But the point is, this man disrupted an industry, brought an innovative product, but he did it off of leadership. Brian and I were talking, the way he runs his meetings, he has, in the first 20 minutes, you have to read a memo. The communication, he wants the leadership team to be sound. Like you all in this room are here to better yourselves. So I'm now going to tell you my personal story. Getting up on stage and talking is not enough in my opinion. You have to give some type of validation to why the hell you should listen to me. Okay? So I'm going to tell you because I went from being an NFL athlete to a successful 8-figure business owner in my late 20s as a real estate, construction, business. I work with engineers all the time. Downtown Baltimore, I built big buildings, worked for Johns Hopkins Hospital, did it all. I lost sight of the principles of leadership. I went bankrupt. I almost went homeless, and I literally had to restart my whole life. So now I've built my brand off these same principles to where now I speak all over the globe, helping organizations become more profitable and more sound. So this is me in the middle. You can tell us the nice. I got the part in my hair. That's my father on the left. My brother, who was 6'9" in 8th grade, on the right. So my brother was a 12-year NFL vet, first ballot Hall of Fame left tackle for the Ravens, Jonathan Ogden. We were raised by a single father. So you talk about leadership skills. My father had a job working for the Federal Home Loans Bank of New York in the DC office in the early 80s. He raised both his sons on strong leadership, respecting women, and respecting yourself. Most people say, well, kids go to stay with the mom. Well, our mom left us. He stepped up as a dad and said, you are going to be more than sports to both of us. So this is why I wanted to put this in here to kind of give you a little backstory on how I got to be where I am today as a person. So with his knowledge that I learned, I ended up, after my NFL career, I started a construction company. This is me and my business partner. We're in downtown Baltimore. This is Johns Hopkins behind us. This is what now is their parking garage. And we work with tons of engineers, tons of contractors, tons of people, real estate. And we all were looking to do one thing, create a great product for the city of Baltimore. So for 5 years, I went from a $0 business to almost $15 million a year in revenue in my late 20s. And I built that off of great foundational skill sets. I was very humble. I came to work on time. If something was going on, I could solve conflict and dialogue very easily. I was likable. But what happens to some people, especially when you're younger, you think because you have success that you know everything. You think because you make a bunch of money that you know it all. So the leaders like you all in this room are here learning to better yourselves. My leaders near the end tried to advise me on what to do. They tried to talk with me. They tried to give me advice and inclusion. What did I do? I shut them out. Because I figured, well, guys, look, I'm paying you. You should just take my advice, what I tell you, this should be law. So basically, I wasted about $1 million in payroll because I never allowed my leaders that I had hired to give their advice. One of the biggest mistakes leaders make is they don't allow healthy inclusion. You have to learn, as leaders like you are, how to work with people in the field and people at the C level. Because you all are what I call the bridge of a company. If a company cannot communicate from the field to the office, you're going to have mutiny. So I had that. Literally, it took me 5 years to build my empire. I lost it all in 90 days. I went from an 8-figure business owner in his late 20s to a broke, almost homeless, 31-year-old individual. All the money I had made from the NFL, all the money I had made from construction, all the money I had made working hard, doing things the right way, literally went out of the door in less than 90 days. I got a job at Merrill Lynch in Durham. I tried to rebuild myself. I got fired after 2 months because I was not a good leader. I came to office, I would always look for people to blame. If you have an issue and the first person you look at is outside of yourself, you are the problem. The best leaders look at situations called the inside to outside theory. How can I help be the catalyst to solve the problem? How can I help the company become more profitable? How can I help the field become more efficient? So I got fired from that job, took a job working for a construction business, engineering company, was there for 1 week, got fired again. The company ended up shutting its doors. I was fired twice in a week. So imagine that luck. Oh, by the way, I met my wife on Match.com 6 months before I went bankrupt. So that whole time I was going through the bankruptcy, we were together. It was not pleasant nights. I have a book that's called Sleepless Nights. I'll talk about that later on. But I ended up getting a job working as a football coach, teaching private lessons, but it wasn't enough to feed my family. So I took this job. I was a custodian, downtown Raleigh. I made $8.25 an hour working downtown Raleigh. I'm telling you this because the principles I'm going to share with you all that made me a successful business owner, that now I've made me a successful speaker, you can put into your own life. But when I lost those principles, when I stopped caring about other people, when I stopped allowing people to talk to me and me being a good listener, the best leaders are great listeners. Like how you said, what are you doing out there? I said, I'm listening to what you have to say.
Yeah, but like
Yeah, I know. It looked awkward, but still. I was listening because when you're around people and you're continuing to listen, that's when you become a great leader. So I ended up trying to become a speaker, got myself together, had my life-changing moment, was not working, so I decided to write a book, which was called Sleepless Nights, which is my best-selling autobiography. It became a bestseller in 2 days. It tells my personal story of what I've gone through, and what I've gone through undertaking. So after this, I then started getting jobs for companies like this, the Home Depot, Axe Advisors, national organizations, PNC Bank, and I built it on the foundation of creating value for people. You as a leader have to remember this. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. If you're trying to prove yourself to people, you're all about what can you do to look your best. Instead of creating value for them and then serving them information to make them their best. That's a huge difference. People that try to prove themselves consistently always, I feel, are not going to get the type of sales that they want. It's like taking all of your money and putting it into a marketing system with a broken sales system. If you don't know how to create value for people when you're trying to close the sale, but you're throwing all this marketing dollars at it, you never get the sale. Because if you don't have a good sales system, nobody's going to work with you. So once I developed these principles, went from a custodian to a best-selling author to a keynote speaker, I have built the foundation of my life. And I will never again become arrogant, complacent. I will always be humble, listen to people. I will always put myself in a position where I'm learning and continuing to put myself around great leaders who can share knowledge to help me so I can end up helping them. So here's my challenge to you. I always challenge every audience I go and speak at because I want to make sure they understand this is now the challenge I want them to leave the room with. Do you have what it takes to elevate your company to a higher level? Now, you can say yes. It's easy to say yes. What actions are you going to really do? What are you going to do? Now, these 5 keys I'm going to talk about can help you greatly, but you have to be committed. I tell my coaching clients all the time, telling me yes is not good enough. You have to tell me yes, but hold yourself accountable. If you're not holding yourself accountable to reaching your numbers, training your staff, being around the right people, it doesn't matter what you do. Because talk is easy. Anybody can talk. But the best leaders, the best businesses have a foundation and they have a culture of the leaders actually doing what they say by the actions, not by the talk. So here are my 5 foundational principles for a great business leader. Number 1, always continue to develop yourself as a leader. Now I'm going to give you action items in each area in a moment. But again, being in this room, working with people to better yourself, putting yourselves in situations where you're always learning and growing. That is what it takes to be a leader. Develop yourself as a leader by being around people who can push you. They always say, If you look around your inner circle and no one's pushing you, you have the wrong inner circle. Like Dawn's here. She pushes me every single day. There's times when I look at her and just say, really? You want me to do that? Really? I gotta keep working? Like, I gotta do more? She's like, well, do you want to be average or do you want to be great? And every time she says it, I shut the hell up and I get what I gotta get done. But that's what she does. That's what an inner circle should do. They should push you to be your best at all times. Number 2, learn to inspire. This one is all about owning your story. People in today's society want to make you think everything is perfect in their life. If your life is perfect and crystal clean, I don't really want to work with you because you haven't been through anything. I tell my clients, people don't pay you for what you've learned in college or education. People pay you for what you have learned from. What have you learned from? What have you gone through to make you who you are? Like I said, if you all didn't know I have been through that much trauma, that much, ridicule, that type of situation financially, then you're like, then why are you up here talking to me? Like, so many people want to tell you what they can do for you, but they forget to tell you why you should work with them. There's gotta be a why. As a leader, if your staff is not following you, something's missing. What action are you not giving them to make them say, I'm gonna follow him or her to the end of the earth? Where are you lacking in your communication? Where are you lacking in your interaction? There's something. Here's the thing. More people are worker bees than leaders because being a leader takes responsibility. I don't care if you are a CEO, a VP, a business development, it doesn't matter. When you're talking about managing other people, there's a responsibility. That's why there are so few executives and so many people that are out in the field working because it takes a lot. You don't really work a 9 to 5. Like you said, you are at dinner, your phone rings. You don't answer it, but it's ringing. So what does that tell you? You have a lot of responsibility. That's what it tells me. You have to learn how to respond to that, but you have responsibility just like you do. You do. You do. Everybody in this room does. I do. You have to be the person that drives the results and drives the profitability. That is key. Be open to growth and development. If you think you know everything, you are really putting yourself in a bad spot. Everyone can learn. When you were talking, I took pictures of your presentation because it teaches me something. I love soul. I'll be using it. I'll give you credit, but I'll be able to use that.
Right.
And this is how you should be learning all the time. Tony Robbins has a saying about people who are open to growth and development when it comes to a business. It's not the people that you hire that hurt your business. It's the people that you don't fire that kill your business.
Yep.
Yeah, people that you hire don't hurt you. The people that you don't get rid of hurt you. Like you said, you're keeping them around, you're committed to them. So what can you do to better those people? If you're committed to them, how can they be committed to you? But again, it's responsibility. I love meeting people who are CEOs, COOs, founding partners, because I know you have been through some type of struggle to get to this whole business. Nothing comes easy. Nothing. So if you learn and are always open to growth and development, you will always be in a position to be your best. Consistently manage your time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where about 80% of society falls off. Because you are so busy in the day-to-day monotony that you're not thinking about tomorrow, the next week. You're not game planning. You're not prioritizing. Businesses like Amazon are thinking not for today, not for the next quarter. They're 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. That's why Bill Gates and Microsoft Have you seen anybody compete against Microsoft? Not really. I mean, Bill Gates, when he started that business, I had the pleasure of hearing him speak one time. He said, when him and his partner designed that business, they designed it for 25 years later down the road so no one could come in and take any of their market share. I was like, damn. 25 years, he said, we committed to each other to be in here for the long haul. Leaders have to make that commitment, otherwise, why the hell are you a leader? Why? Because again, the check is nice, but is it worth the stress? Because because all you guys know is a lot of stress as a leader. All day, every day. So what can you do to help you and your business manage your time? I'm going to talk about that in a minute as well. And the last one, hold yourself accountable. Nobody runs your life but you. Nobody. If you are not setting a standard of excellence to yourself, no one's going to do it for you. I had a conversation with a lady out of California. Her name is Robin. She said, people tell her all the time, Robin, you're always so busy. I see you with Tony Robbins or traveling to Japan, or how do you do all this stuff? She said, I hold myself accountable every day to achieve my best. I don't take pointless lunches. I don't gossip. I don't watch TV. I don't know who's beating Golden. I don't know who Golden State's playing. Of course, you say Golden State, but I don't know who they're playing. Doesn't matter to me. Like, I have to hold myself accountable because I'm a 47-year-old woman that wants to not just keep, but thrive and sustain my business. And I was like, that's exactly why she is where she is. If you ever look at great leaders, they are always thinking ahead and they are always doing what I call time traveling. So now, we're going to go through each one. We're going to give you one action item in each of these categories. Learn to lead with integrity. You don't realize everything you do as a leader is being watched. If you don't think you're being watched, camera. Guys, the FBI, I was like, everybody's being watched. Everybody. They had closed cameras on every street corner. And they had them at the airport. They had them in the taxi cab. They showed me an undercover sting when they had the camera. They got the camera on the quarter, I hope. They got the camera to the person's car who was threatening to blow up and bomb a U.S. Armed Troop Reserve. They got the camera into the car, had him on tape, and they kept telling him, you sure you want to do this, man? Let's just go ahead and back off. Nah, I'm gonna blow him up. They asked him six times, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this? Every time, yes, 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 yes. And the minute he tried to go and do it, it was a fake bomb, and they pulled his ass out of that car so fast, and he was hemmed up, and it was over for him. Life in jail. Life in jail. Literally, everything you do as a leader is being watched. The fact you're here, people know about it. How are you learning? How are you interacting? You have to remember, integrity is all you have as a leader. The minute you lose integrity and trust with your team, it's a wrap. That is why my business went from almost 15 million to zero. My best leaders, when they try to talk to me, I shut them out, and eventually and slowly they all started to leave the business, and all of them left by the end. They were gone. So I was left holding the bag, and you all can imagine trying to move in basically about 2 months from Baltimore to Carolina because you had lost. I had lost everything. And it all started because my leaders that were integrity driven, I shut them out and they left my organization. So to your brand, you don't even realize it. Because without you guys in this room, things would not be as smooth as they are. Learn to inspire. Own your entire story. Everyone makes mistakes. The number one thing people want from other individuals is authenticity. They want you to be real with them. Don't Who ever heard of Mel Robbins? Mel Robbins is the #1 most booked female speaker in the world. I went to one of her programs in Boston, and she told me, she asked me a question, I responded, and she looked at me and said, Marcus, and she cut the cameras off, and said, Marcus, now, don't give me the bullshit answer that you think I want to hear. You tell me the truth. How was it when you were bankrupt? How was it when you had lost everything? How was it when you were sitting there trying to figure out where you're going to eat next week? And I looked at her and I said, fuck it. It was the worst thing ever. I just opened up to her. And she said, Marcus, now that's what I want to hear. Because she said, when you own that story, it gives you credibility. It gives you power. It sucks to say it at the time, but it gives you power. Nobody wants to be around someone that says everything is perfect. We love heroes, but we don't love people that tell us everything is like Candyland. So it's a huge balance. So learn to own your entire story, because if you're authentic with your team, they will be there for you like you've never dreamed. Because that shows them that you're human. Like you told me to have lunch with them like you're human. Well, I am human. I like to eat. I'm fat. I like to eat. So the point is, it's all about owning that story and learning how to share it authentically and genuinely. Be open to growth and development. Learn to foster healthy inclusion. I loved your exercise. If people are not communicating, last night, I went to an event in Roxborough, drove 90 minutes there, 90 minutes back. The police chief was having an event for the community. He was opening up for dialogue, and it was amazing. People were attacking him because they said, well, everybody wants to say that, white police officers attack African Americans all the time, this, that, and the other. And he was giving them data that they have the same percentage of people in their district. They've arrested more Caucasians than African Americans. They didn't want to hear that. They didn't want to hear it. They kept attacking, and then he told his personal story, and I just told him, I said, Chief, I want you to know, I respect you, and I respect your police officers, because here's what I love to see. I would love people to see come to a meeting, and I would love people to have solutions and not look to blame and give problems. Why don't people come to events prepared with a solution? That's fostering inclusion. So he did a fantastic job of being professional and trying to keep the dialogue going, because if I was him, there were a few times I was on edge. Because they weren't respecting him. They were like, well, you don't know what it's like, white privilege. You don't know what it's like being African American. Well, you know what? You're right. I don't know what it's like to be white. I don't know. And I don't want to assume you have privilege, because you may or may not. I had a privilege life until my dad lost his job. Then we went broke. So it doesn't matter to me. I'm all about, can we come together, foster healthy dialogue, and solve a problem? Great leaders do that. So it's amazing last night to see Chief Hess run a meeting and foster that type of healthy dialogue. So great leaders will foster healthy inclusion. Consistently manage your time. Set and prioritize goals. How many of you as leaders set goals with your team? Okay? Do you all talk about that as leaders in your organization? The best leaders are consistently setting goals and prioritizing and delegating things to get done. The most leaders that struggle, like I did when I lost my business, I tried to do everything myself. I didn't trust people. I didn't delegate. We would have meetings. People were going to do things. I would micromanage to the point where my best people just left. Like, well, look, you're paying me to do a job, but you're not allowing me to do it. And they were right. I would be on their shoulder watching them. Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Like, to the point where it drove them insane. So great leaders need to set goals, and also they need to delegate and prioritize a schedule. I still write my things down in an old school planner. 38 years old. I don't use the iPhone and put things in the schedule. I write them. If I write them down, I hold myself accountable to doing it. 42% of people that write their goals down are more likely to achieve them. Market research shows. So if you want to be a great leader, learn to set and prioritize your goals and be sure your team knows what you expect of them through open communication and healthy dialogue. That is where I lost my business. I did not tell people on my team what I expected of them, what they needed to do. I just assumed that they understood. And that was the biggest thing I ever did incorrectly. And I'll never do that again in my business today. And hold yourself accountable. Take ownership of your actions. I have a saying, if you make a mistake, own it, fix it, move on. Don't dwell on it. You can't change the past. Like yesterday, I was so mad yesterday morning after a workout, during the workout, I broke my phone. Shattered it because I was stupid and I put it up too high, tried to be cool, and dropped it, broke it. And then I sat there, I was like, the old me would have literally just like been so mad, stormed out of the gym, went home, complained to my wife, would have said she wouldn't have cared, and I just kept going. But I ended up just sitting there and saying, okay, I can't change it, I'm gonna get it fixed, I'm gonna try to make my calls. I had to readjust my schedule to get things done because I had lost my, one of my biggest devices. But it showed that I owned the mistake. I owned the action. I didn't blame anybody else. I didn't look to say, hey, the gym, you guys suck, right? You guys have floors like this, all that stuff. I said it was my mistake, and I owned it. So many people in society, I'm sure you guys have seen it, people that you're managing, if they make a mistake, they want to shift the blame. It's never their fault. It's never their fault. And I'm like, look, it's okay. If you make a mistake, I was talking to the cops yesterday at the event, and they said if people, when they get pulled over, if people would just tell them, officer, I'm so sorry I made a mistake, please accept my apology, I know I was driving too fast, you probably won't get a ticket. The ones that say, are aggressive, why'd you pull me over, what's wrong with you, my tax dollars pay your salary. Yeah. I mean, somebody said that last night, I was like, she was like, well, yeah, my tax dollars pay their salary. I'm like, really? But those tax dollars are protecting yourself and your family. But I was like, and the cop said, if people would just treat them nice and own the action, own the mistake, they would probably let them off. But people are like, that's just too, it's easier to blame someone else than to fix your own issues. It's easier. Because fixing your issues takes work. So I'm here to tell you, as a leader, when you own your actions and you do it consistently, it creates a culture where that business, that company can thrive. But if you're a leader who's shifting the blame like I was, passing the buck, eventually, just like my business did, crashed and burned. So it's so important for you all in this room to keep doing what you're doing. So, anybody have any questions for me before I have a final thought? I was I'm gonna do in a minute. Anybody have any questions on anything, situations, anything like that? Bruce, you have a question? Or nobody has a question?
I got a question.
Okay, great.
What was the aha moment for you to reflect on your lessons learned?
So, the aha moment for me was I was a custodian in downtown Raleigh, working the graveyard shift, $8.25 an hour. I took out someone's trash that was in the building, and as I took the trash out, my right glove had ripped, and someone's spoiled milk had got on my bare skin. Took the trash out, dumped it, went on the curb, sat down, cried for about a good 3 or 4 minutes, and said, Marcus, what the hell has happened to you? What happened? You were a former NFL athlete, you had no experience in construction, real estate, engineering, you built an 8-figure business in less than 5 years. What the hell's your problem? Why are you always looking to blame other people? And that was the moment. I was like, wait a second. Let's try that one more time. Let's rewind that. Why do we blame other people all the time? And that was my aha moment. everything in my life between 2012 and September of 2013, almost a year, always was someone else's fault. It wasn't mine. It was my partner, the bank, the general contractor, the developer. Everybody was wrong but me. But once I realized that I was the problem, I was the cancer, once I took that approach, my life got better. Because once I stopped shifting blame, I fixed my own issues to be who I am today. But that was my aha moment.
Where would you say confidence plays a part in your topics here?
Confidence, there's always a fine line, but you must be confident as a leader when you're talking to your staff that you're managing. Because if they pick up on something that you're doing or saying that you may or may not be sure of, they are not going to move to do it with any type of conviction, effort, or desire. They're going to kind of tiptoe their way and do it. So you as a leader have to be confident that what you're telling someone is right for the business. If you make a mistake, own it, fix it, move on. But you have to be sure of yourself. People can read if you're confident or if you're kind of like not sure, you're timid. If you're timid, they're going to do it because they're paid to do it, but not going to do it with any type of real urgency or dedication. But when you are confident in your decision and what you're telling your team, they're going to do it with much more conviction, passion, and energy. Ma'am?
What's your technique for giving negative feedback to your...
That's a great question. So I tell people all the time, people are human, and most humans like some type of positive feedback. What I have found, give someone something they do well. Like, during an evaluation, Mr. X, you really do a great job working with other people, communicating to the staff in the office and out of the field. But what I wish you would do better is learn how to handle problems that are coming in from our customer base that might negatively reflect our company. So what I have found to be very useful is give people some type of a little bit of appreciation for what they're doing and then correct them right behind that. Because here's the thing, if you come at someone barking what they're doing wrong, their defenses go up. Systems show when you yell at people, their ears shut down. They can't hear you. Because what they're doing is they're sitting there kind of like, it's kind of like you're fighting Mike Tyson back in the mid-'80s. You got all those haymakers, Mike's got the haymakers coming, what do? You got your guard up, you don't want to get hit. But they're not attacking, they're not listening, they're not trying to progress forward. So you have to break that barrier down by giving them some sort of positivity to then take and say, wow, I do this pretty good. Then right behind that, give a critique. But also you give a critique, tell them how you feel they could maybe do it better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Don't just give them something that they do wrong, tell them how to fix it. This is what I learned as a keynote speaker. 5 years ago, as a keynote speaker, I stunk. Okay, I was horrible. Because all I did was tell stories. I never gave anyone action items to put into their own life. So I gave you a problem, but I gave you a solution. Most leaders, if they give just a problem, which is what criticism is, they just say, all right, go fix it. The person's like, well, how do I fix it? I don't know, because if I knew, I wouldn't be doing it wrong. So you as a leader have to find ways to give them some feedback to help fix their problem. If you can do that, the chances of success go up drastically. Does that make sense?
Yep. Thank you, Mark.
Anybody else have a question? Yes, ma'am.
You were talking about your business and how you had leaders that you weren't listening to them.
Uh-huh.
And for the most part, I mean, I do, and I'm a stickler. I always say, admit you're at fault. No one's perfect, So I guess my issue right now is I have a service coordinator. Does a great job, but it's trusting. It's letting go because I was so used to doing. How would you?
How do you build trust?
Not that I don't trust. It's just my way of making sure, like don't want to delegate any work. Like I can't grow as a manager if I want to keep going and doing
Right.
and
So
making sure that job's like
So what you're saying is let me see if that's right. So what you're saying is you as a manager have a great service person that just kind of like that you manage. And you're trying to find a way to kind of gauge how you can let them get more responsibility so you can do your job.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a 3-step process you can follow that I've done a lot of research on to help you build trust. If they are doing these 3 things consistently, you will know you can start to let go and give them more to do. Number 1 is competency. So can they do the job? Can they do it consistently? Are they educated to get that task done? Number 2, this is the big one where people fall off, reliability. Do they get the job done in the time frame it needs to be done? So not if it's due Friday at noon, don't get to me Friday at 12:30. That's late. Don't get to me Friday at 1. I need it Friday by 12. This is where 80% of individuals in business fall off because they're competent. Because if they weren't competent, they wouldn't be hired. But the reliability, they don't end up getting that job done in the correct time frame that you need it done as their manager. So if they can be reliable, that's a great step. And the last one, do they have the company's best interest? Do they have your back? Do you know if that person was asked to do something on your behalf, would they talk good about you and get it done? Do they really have your back? That shows you as a manager, if people have those 3 things, competency, reliability, and have your back consistently, that builds trust. And from there, you can delegate more and then start to grow as your own manager and leader. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because he's kind of like he's fairly new, so he's only been with the company 4 months.
Mhm.
So he's competent at doing the job, and he has the company's best interest. But the reliability, I feel like I'm constantly I have to keep reminding him, hey, did you do this? Did you do the statements? I feel like constantly saying, hey, because I'm from my own insurance, I don't know. Like, hey, did you call this customer back? Did you have? Because we had a situation last week where we had an email from our vendor saying the parts were in.
Mm-hmm.
The customer called, upset, angry, was going to go to another vendor.
Client, sure.
And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I should have called." So, and I guess I kind of get frustrated because I'm like, "Where's the sense of consistency of how I was as a coordinator?" Like that was my first thing. Like came back from lunch, okay, boom, 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 and make sure.
What's your name, ma'am?
Jen.
Jen?
Yeah.
So what I would do, Jen, I would have a sit down with that individual and say, you know what? These are the 3 things that build trust between you and me. Competency. You're good as gold here. I know you know what to do. You have my back. I can trust you with my life in this business. Reliability is where we're falling short. How can you fix this? So again, give them positivity. Positive here, positive there. This is where you're lacking. How can we get this corrected? Do you need this from me? Can you set your own schedule that when you come back from lunch for the first hour, you will respond to emails? Give them some type of a strategy because reliability is what kills a business. Killed mine. Construction, time schedule, getting things done. That's why I went under, because my company fell behind when we could not dewater a job site. So the concrete contractor, no longer on, was a huge company, was pressuring the general contractor and developer, cadence slow. They're behind schedule, they can't get it done. So what did I do? I dumped almost $3 million into that job in 90 days. So the client shook my hand, you'll get paid back. Finish the job, let's go get paid back. Deny my change order. Deny me. And I went bankrupt. Because I was competent, I thought they had my back, but I couldn't see it. But I was not reliable. The job needed to be done, say, January 1st. It was March 1st, we were still working. But no one told me, this is kind of funny, there was a river underneath that job site that was running, that was not on the plans. They say they didn't know, I say they're full of it today. But it's over now. But so as I was drying the site, I would dewater it, the water kept rising. I dried some more, kept rising, until literally we just had to put almost 100 sump pumps on it and stay on it for 24/7 for almost 3 months. Then it died, and then we were able to cap it with the concrete. By that time, though, I was $3 million, almost $3 million out of my pocket. They said, "Great job, Marcus, nice work, but I pay you." I couldn't carry the load. I filed a bankruptcy and lost it all. So again, looking at my own life, I was not reliable to my contractor, to my client.
Yeah.
So if I were you, I would sit down with them, praise him for 1, 3, say, how can we together fix number 2? Because you can tell if you fix number 2, we can delegate more. Means I'm going to do well, you're going to do well, the company's going to do well, we all do well. That's how I would approach it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Thanks for the 5 tips. Those are really good. I'm coming into a new management position with an existing team. So what's your best piece of advice for someone new coming into leadership to gain trust with the team, the existing team?
Perfect. So what you need to do is you need to come into this, you need to have a meeting with them. Say, guys, look, I am so excited to be here. I am here to serve you as your leader and try to figure out what do you need from me to get your job done most efficiently. If you actually have a meeting like that and come to them and say, I'm here to serve you and have a servant leadership mentality, you will get so far. It's the leaders that come in the door and say, well, man, I'm here now. Let's go to work. You know, let's get them moving, guys. You know, what are y'all doing? Let's get those horses in the saddle. Let's get it going. You know, that's what a lot of leaders do because they feel leadership is a title. In reality, leadership is not a title. Leadership is a responsibility. It's a servant mentality. She's great, but I tell you what, we serve each other. She tells me to do something, I do it. She needs me to do something for me, she gets it done. We don't have egos. So tell everybody, look, I'm not here, it's not an ego trip, I'm not here I'm not here for that. I'm here to serve you as your leader. What do you need from me to do your job better? If you come in with that mentality, you will get so far. Especially as a new leader. Because they're like, wow, like, wait a second, this guy's like, because again, which takes me to my point, true leaders remain open to continual listening and learning. So when you come to a meeting prepared to show them, you're there to hear them as their leader, they are going to be like, wow, I want to work for this guy. That's what I didn't do with Caden, which is exactly why my best people left the company. The ones that stayed wanted a paycheck. I got all the worker bees, I had no leaders. So eventually my company folded. So from a guy that made a $3 million mistake and lost it all, home, cars, everything, the best advice I can give you is be a servant leader at all times.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, look, I really enjoyed it. You guys have been a fantastic group. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.